There is a secret that no one tells you about yourself, a secret so disturbing that your mind prefers to hide it from it. And this secret explains exactly why you can't disconnect from this married man, even though you know you should. It doesn't matter how many times you promise yourself that you'll leave. It doesn't matter how many tears you shed alone at night. You come back. It always comes back, as if a magnetic force pulled you towards it, against all your reason and will. Carl Jung called it the compulsion of the unconscious, and discovered something shocking. You didn't choose this man by chance. Your unconscious chose you for you, and he did it for a very specific reason that has everything to do with his personal history and nothing to do with love. What you're about to discover will turn your world upside down, because when you understand the 8 psychological mechanisms that bind you to it, you'll finally have the power to choose. Really. 1. The dark side. You hide from yourself. Let's talk about something you've never admitted out loud. There is a part of you that takes pleasure in being desired by a man who already belongs to another woman. It's not about him. It's about winning a competition you didn't even know you were playing. And this reveals aspects of your personality that you have always denied possessing. Jung discovered that we all carry characteristics that we consider unacceptable. These rejected parts do not disappear. They continue to live in the unconscious, gaining strength in the shadows, waiting for an opportunity to manifest. And when they find a loophole, they appear in surprising ways. For years, you've probably seen yourself as ethical, someone who would never hurt another woman, someone who respects relationships. You may have even judged women who were involved with committed men, thinking you were superior to them, that he had more solid principles, that I would never fall into that situation. But here you are, and you probably don't feel the guilt you expected to feel. Or if you do, it's guilt mixed with excitement, mixed with a sense of victory every time he chooses to see you instead of being with her, every time he lies to her to be with you. You feel special in a way that you have never felt before. This is not pure evil. It is your shadow manifesting. Jung explained that the shadow contains not only negative aspects, but also qualities repressed by education. Maybe you grew up being the girl who always shared your toys, the one that gave up its turn, the one that put the needs of others before its own, and a part of you has come to hate this forced generosity. Now you're in a situation where you don't have to split, where you can be selfish without excuses, where you can want something that is not yours and fight for it. It's liberating in a distorted way, because finally you are not being the wholly understanding one, the one who always gives up. You are being the one who takes, the one who conquers, the one who does not ask for permission. There is also women's competition going on here, something ancestral, of thousands of years of evolution. Your primitive mind is interpreting this as competition that you are winning. He may be with her physically, but he's thinking about you. It's craving you. In the twisted logic of the unconscious, you are the winner. But there is another side. Every time you accept being second, every time you settle for leftovers from his time, you're expressing a different shadow. The part that secretly believes it doesn't deserve to be the first. The part that feels most comfortable in the position of almost never completely. The part that is afraid of what would happen if you were really the chosen one. Because if you were the official one, you would have to be really perfect. He would have to sustain that idealized image he has. He could no longer present only his best side in scheduled meetings. I would have to show everything, the bad days, the bad mood, the insecurities. What if after seeing all this he realized that he made a mistake? Its shadow is complex. It contains both the woman who wants to win and the one who is afraid of winning. The one who wants to be powerful and the one who fears her own power. And this married man is the perfect setting where all these contradictions can coexist without ever needing to be resolved. Jung said that the shadow should not be destroyed but integrated. This means acknowledging these parts without judgment and finding healthy ways to express them. You can be competitive without destroying relationships. You can be selfish in ways that honor your needs without harming others. But as long as you live your shadow through this destructive situation, you will never truly integrate it. 2. The ideal man you created in your head. You spend more time talking to the version of him that exists in your imagination than to the real man. Count the hours. How many hours a week do you actually interact? Now count how many hours you spend thinking about him, creating imaginary dialogues, planning impossible futures. The proportion is frightening. Jung studied how the less real information you have about something, the more your mind fills in the gaps with projections. And a married man offers infinite gaps. You don't know what he really looks like on a day-to-day basis. He doesn't know how he treats waiters when he's angry. He does not know how he reacts when he is sick. He does not know his annoying habits, his pettiness. What you know is the performative version of him. The one who shows up at the meetings already prepared, tidy, and the best behavior. The one that only has a few hours to impress. That edited version is all you have. And his mind, desperate for completeness, invents everything else. In your head, it's deep. He understands you like no one else. He's stuck in a loveless marriage out of obligation, but his heart is with you. He suffers as much as you do from this separation. Every silence of his you interpret as internal conflict, not as simple disinterest. Every vague promise you turn into a solid commitment. Jung called this the animus, the internal image of the masculine that each woman carries. This image has been built since childhood. It starts with his father, then movie heroes, book characters, first crushes are added. It is an impossible image that no real man can sustain, but a married man can sustain indefinitely. Because you're never going to test it thoroughly. You'll never wake up every day next to him for 5 years and see the image crumble. You will never have to negotiate who washes the dishes. Never will see you playing video games for hours while ignoring you. Distance keeps fantasy alive. His wife meets a completely different man. She knows he forgets birthdays. That doesn't wash the toilet properly. That he gets angry when he's hungry. That promises things and doesn't deliver. She knows his real patterns, and probably the pattern of lying is just another in a long list. But you don't want to know these details. He wants to keep his image polished. When friends try to show you warning signs, you stand up. You don't understand our connection. He's not like that with me. The situation is more complex. You struggle to keep the costume intact because without it, you would have to face that you are wasting time with someone ordinary. If it was fully available from day one, you probably wouldn't feel that intensity. Intensity comes from scarcity, obstacle, distance. These things activate your imagination. You fill every absence of it with romanticization. Every time he can't answer, imagine him thinking of you with nostalgia. But what if the truth is simpler? What if when he doesn't answer, it's because he's doing something else and you're not a priority? What if when you cancel, it's because being with your family is more important? What if there isn't all this internal drama you imagine? The version of him you love exists mostly in your head, and as long as you don't bring that projection back into you, you're going to remain trapped, because you're not stuck with it. She is stuck in the fantasy she has built. If this video helped you understand why that connection still feels unbreakable, it's because it touched something unconscious. In the pinned comment, you'll find the Jung Method, a guide to help you release what still holds you. 3. Why imagination looks better than real life. You are more afraid of reality than you admit. Fear of what would happen if this relationship became concrete, everyday, normal. Because while you're in fantasy, you control everything. In reality, he would have to face frightening truths. Imagine that tomorrow he shows up at your door with his bags. He dropped everything. He wants to live with you. How do you feel? If the first emotion is not pure joy, but rather a tightness in the stomach, you need to pay attention to it, because it reveals something crucial. You don't really want it to become real. Jung noted that many people live in what he called the provisional life. A life of eternal possibilities that never materialize, always thinking when he leaves the marriage, when circumstances improve. But these conditions are excuses for never having to live for real, because real living is scary. In your imagination, you have a beautiful life with him. You wake up together, you talk deeply, you travel, you have intense connection always present. But notice, in this fantasy, there is never real conflict. There is never him wanting to watch football while you want to talk. There is never an argument about money. Imaginary life is always edited, always perfect. And that's exactly why you prefer it. In real life, you would have to be really vulnerable. He would have to show his worst days. You'd have to deal with rejection if he doesn't like what he sees. I would have to build something concrete instead of just dreaming. And building is laborious, frustrating, full of imperfections. There is another factor. While it's impossible, you don't have to really commit. You can keep one foot out. You can go on with your life as it is. It can avoid radical changes that a real relationship would require. You complain about the situation, but it serves you. It gives you excitement without real commitment. Look at your life. Do you have time for friends, hobbies, career? Probably yes. Because this relationship does not take real time. It takes mental space but not concrete time. You remain relatively free. You can leave whenever you want. It can make choices on its own. You can keep your life exactly as it is. But what if he lived with you? You would have to negotiate. I would have to give in. I would have to include someone else in every decision. You'd have to deal with the boring parts of sharing space. Wet towels on the floor, different food preferences, incompatible schedules. She would have to be a real adult. Have you ever noticed that the most intense moments are not when you are together? They are when they are separated. It is in the longing, in the waiting, in the unsatisfied desire that you feel the most. Because these feelings feed fantasy. When they are actually together, it is often even a little dull, full of haste, of nervousness. Imagination is your comfort zone disguised as passion. It feels like you're living something intense, but you're actually avoiding living anything real. You're avoiding taking chances with someone available who could know you completely. It's avoiding building something that might fall apart. You are avoiding true emotional responsibility. And while living in this fantasy, he is getting older. It is missing real opportunities. You're turning down men who could offer you something concrete, but that intensity only exists because it is fueled by impossibility. It's not real. It's just your brain responding to frustration. 4. You are reliving an old pain. When you were 7 years old, something happened that planted a seed. It may have been subtle. Maybe your father worked too much and you rarely saw him. Maybe his mother was always busy with a younger brother. Maybe you've had to share attention from someone important, and in that moment your brain learned. Love means waiting. Love means not being enough for full attention. Decades later, you're in a situation where you literally share a man with another woman, where you have to wait for his attention, where it is never enough for him to choose you completely. See the pattern? Your unconscious is not trying to hurt you. It's trying to heal you by making you relive that dynamic, believing that this time you can change it. But it doesn't work like that. Jung discovered that when we try to heal old wounds through present situations, we only end up deepening the cut. Because you're no longer that powerless child. You are an adult with choice. But you're actively choosing to put yourself in the same position of rejection that hurt you so many years ago. Think about the times you felt invisible as a child, when your opinion was not heard. When he needed to compete for attention and lost. When she did everything to be noticed and yet she was ignored. Now look at your current situation. You are literally invisible in his official life. His opinion on when he should leave the marriage is irrelevant. The repetition is so precise that it is painful. And the worst thing is that you may even recognize the pattern intellectually, but emotionally you are still stuck in it. Because there's a primitive part of your brain that believes that if you can get it to choose you, you'll erase all those old rejections. It will prove that you have always been worthy, but it won't. Because even if he chooses you tomorrow, you're still going to carry that wound. It will still be the same person with the same fears of abandonment. It will still need constant validation. You'll still panic every time he takes a long time to respond. The wound does not heal through external validation. Think of the main male figure of your childhood. What was his relationship with you like? Was he emotionally available? Or have you always had to compete for his attention with work, with other people, with other commitments? If you've always been secondary to him, it makes sense that you're comfortable being secondary now. Because the familiar always feels right, even when it's painful. Your brain recognizes that pattern of having to fight for love as normal. When someone offers you easy love, generous love, love that doesn't require competition, it feels wrong. It seems uninteresting. Because it doesn't match the template programmed into you about what love should look like. And you may be secretly enjoying the drama. Not because it's masochistic, but because drama is family. It's what you know. Growing up at home where she had to fight for attention created a high tolerance for turbulent relationships. You can even interpret turmoil as passion, but healthy love is boring compared to that. Healthy love is someone who responds to your messages consistently. That includes you in his life openly. That doesn't make you guess where you stand on the priority list. Who resolves conflicts through conversation, and it doesn't thrill you because it doesn't activate those old neural pathways shaped by the scarcity of affect. Healing begins when you stop trying to win that game of the past. When he recognizes that that child was not being rejected because he was inadequate. It was being rejected because adults had their own wounds, and that you, as an adult, no longer have to accept crumbs. 5. The attraction of what is forbidden. Part of the excitement comes from the fact that it's wrong, of secrecy, of danger. The risk of being discovered. Take it all away and what's left? Are you sure there would be anything left? There is a biological reason. When you do something risky, your brain releases adrenaline, dopamine, cortisol. It's the same mix you'd feel bungee jumping. Your body does not differentiate between physical and emotional risk. He just knows that you're doing something dangerous and that makes you addictively alive. Each secret meeting is a dose of these substances. Every message he deletes. Every time you look at each other in public but you can't show it. Every whispered call. All of this activates your nervous system in ways that a normal relationship would never activate. And you start to associate that alertness with love. But it's not love. It's an adrenaline addiction disguised as romance. In the few moments when you are together and relaxed, unhurried, not afraid, is it so intense? Or does most of the intensity come precisely from tension, from limited time, from the awareness that this is forbidden? Jung studied how people confuse arousal with deep connection. He discovered that the more a society represses something, the more psychic energy it accumulates. Our society has clear rules about not messing with other people's relationships. You grew up knowing that this is taboo. That would make you the villain. And precisely for this reason, there is transgressive pleasure in this. You're breaking one of the most fundamental rules: don't steal another woman's man. Every time you break this rule and get away with it, there is a sense of power. You did something you were told never to do and the world didn't end. It also has the element of competition. You beat another woman, at least partially. He managed to attract and maintain interest from someone who was already committed. In the primitive logic of the brain, this makes you powerful. It makes you desirable. It makes you more valuable than the one who lost the man to you. But did you really win? Or are you just playing a game where no one wins? She has official life, stability, social recognition, family. You have what? A few stolen hours, vague promises, a lifetime in secret. If this is victory, why does it feel so much like defeat in the early hours alone? The truth is that prohibition is artificially inflating its value. It's like when you are forbidden to eat sweets and suddenly that common chocolate looks like the best in the world. It's not chocolate. It is the prohibition that creates intense desire. If he had been available from the start, you would probably see him for what he really is. An ordinary man with common qualities and defects. But because it is forbidden, it becomes extraordinary in its perception. Every feature is amplified. Every interaction is loaded with meaning. Every moment together feels epic because it's stolen. And you convince yourself that this intensity means true love, when in reality it's just your brain reacting to transgression. Imagine that he was single from the beginning, that you would know each other under normal conditions, that they could go out publicly, present them to friends, post photos together. No obstacle, no secret, no risk. Would you feel the same way about him? Or is much of what you feel fueled by impossibility? 6. When two wounds meet, he is not a happy man. You know it, even if he doesn't admit it. Men who are happy and fulfilled in their marriages do not look for other women. There is a lack in it, an emotional hole that he's trying to fill through you. What about you? You have your own hole. And when you met, it wasn't love. It was lack recognizing lack. Think about how you connected. He probably made you feel seen in a way that you haven't felt in a long time. It gave you intense, focused attention, as if you were the most fascinating person in the world. And you've offered him something he doesn't get at home. Genuine admiration. That look of someone who still sees in him a desirable, interesting, special man. But look closer. You are not loving each other. They are using each other as an emotional band-aid. He uses you to feel young again, to escape the responsibilities and boredom of marriage, to taste novelty, and you use it to fill an inner void that has existed for much longer than this relationship. There is a chemistry when two injured people meet. It is as if the wounds recognize each other. He told about how he feels misunderstood in marriage, about how his wife changed after the children, about how lonely he feels even though he's married. And every word resonated with you because you know this loneliness, so you have created a bubble where you are finally not alone. But this understanding is superficial. It is based on sharing pain, not on building something solid. You connect through what is broken, not through what is whole. And relationships built on shared wounds never last. Because when a person starts to heal, the whole dynamic falls apart. Jung called this the unconscious relationship, where two people aren't really seeing each other. They are projecting their unmet needs onto the other person. He doesn't love you for the real woman you are. He loves how you make him feel about himself. And you don't love the real man that he is. You love how it temporarily fills your voids. Notice how you interact. It's a lot about intense emotions, about understanding each other deeply, about feeling that no one else in the world could understand that connection. But do you really know each other? Does he know about your real dreams, your deep fears, your life ambitions? Do you know his real flaws, his character flaws? His wife knows the complete man. Know the selfish side he hides from you. He knows the promises he doesn't keep. He knows the patterns he repeats. And probably, if you could talk honestly with her, you would discover that the man who charms you is the same one who caused her a lot of pain with exactly the same behaviors, but you don't want to know that. Because your wound needs to believe that this time is different, that with you he is different, that the problem has always been his wife, not him. Just as he needs to believe that the problem is the marriage, not his own failures to communicate, to be present. Two people injured together do not heal. They hurt each other in deeper and deeper ways, because each is waiting for the other to fill a void that can only be filled by inner work. He hopes you will make him feel alive again. You hope he makes you feel worthy of being chosen, but neither of you can give that to the other. 7. The "he's going to choose me" lie. He won't choose. Let's start with this truth. And I know you have 1,000 arguments ready, but he said that, but his situation is, keep these arguments, because deep down where you are honest with yourself on sleepless nights, you already know he won't choose. Men who are actually going to get out of marriages get out. They don't talk about it for years. They make the difficult decision and take action. It may take a few months to organize practical issues, but not years. If it's been more than 6 months since he started thinking about leaving and nothing concrete has happened, nothing will happen. But why do you need to believe so much that he will choose? Because if you accept that he won't go, you'll have to make a choice that you're avoiding. He will have to decide whether to continue in this situation, knowing that he will never evolve, or whether to leave, and both options are terrifying. So it is easier to live in the eternal promise of the soon. That promise keeps you suspended. You're not really living. You're waiting to start living when he finally chooses you. He is putting off his own plans, his own possibilities, his own life, and in the meantime he is living fully. He is making plans with his family. He is building memories. Think about the excuses he gives. The children are small. Okay, how long will they be big enough from now? And when they reach that age, what will be the next excuse? They are in an important phase of school. They are in adolescence and they need stability. There will always be a reason why it is not the right time. The financial situation is difficult. Divorce is expensive, yes, but people who really want to go out find ways. They make financial plans. They assume that they will live with less. They prioritize happiness over material comfort. If the financial situation has been an excuse for more than a year, it is not the financial situation. It's just that he doesn't want to lose his standard of living. His wife is going through a difficult time. There will always be something in her life, an important project at work, a health problem. Life is like that. If he's waiting for a perfect moment where nothing is happening, that moment will never come. These excuses are not to convince you. They are to convince him that it is not his fault that you are not together, so he can look in the mirror and not see himself as someone who is deliberately winding you up. He probably even believes his own excuses, but that doesn't make them real. The reality is, if you were his real choice, he would have chosen already. Not irresponsibly, but in an adult and decisive way. He would have talked honestly with his wife. Separation processes would have begun. He would have made concrete plans with real dates. Instead, what do you have? Vague promises. Soon when possible. These words mean nothing because they have no deadline. They are just ways to keep you there without him having to do anything different. And it works. You keep hoping. You keep believing. You keep giving him exactly what he wants. And let's go to the worst scenario. What if he doesn't love you? What if he simply likes to have you available? What if you're convenient but not someone he'd genuinely consider dismantling your life for? What if all those deep conversations are just things he says because he knows you need to listen? If he really loved you the way you love him, it wouldn't take him years to decide. Real love doesn't keep your loved one waiting indefinitely. He does not make promises that he cannot keep. Either he makes the decision to stay in the marriage and lets you go, or he makes the decision to leave and build something with you. But this eternal gray zone? This is not love. It's his selfishness and lack of self-love on his part. 8. What this situation really wants to teach you. That was never about him. It was always about you and the lessons your psyche is trying to teach you. Jung said that there are no accidents in the way of individuation. Everything that happens, especially the painful one, is an invitation to evolve. And this situation is probably the most important invitation you've ever received. The first lesson is crude. You accept crumbs. Not only in this relationship, but probably in several areas of your life. Take the job that pays the least. Accept friendships where you give more than you receive. It accepts to be treated as optional. This situation is amplifying this pattern until you can no longer ignore it. You need to start asking a question in every area. Is this enough for me? Are the leftovers of his time enough? No. Is minimum recognition at work enough? No. This lesson is asking you to radically raise your standards about what you accept. The second lesson is about stopping waiting for permission to live. You're waiting for him to choose you to start living. But before that, he waited for other factors. Finish school, get a job, lose weight. And while you wait, life is passing by. No one will give you permission to live. You simply have to start. The third lesson is about letting go of what can't be controlled. You're trying to control an outcome that doesn't depend on you. You are trying to make him change through your love, your patience. But he is a separate person. You can't change it. You can't force his choices. And this impotence drives you crazy because you grew up believing that if you try hard enough, you can control results. The fourth lesson is about radical honesty with yourself. You've been lying. Lying that it's okay when you spend nights crying. Lying that she understands his reasons when she feels rejected. Lying that he believes in promises when he knows they are empty. This situation is demanding that you stop the lies and look at the truth, even if it hurts. The fifth lesson is about rebuilding your relationship with your body. Your body knows when something is wrong. You feel that tightness in your stomach when it cancels. He feels that tension of always being in a state of waiting, but you've been ignoring these signs because your mind has rationalized everything. This situation is asking you to reconnect with bodily wisdom. The sixth lesson is about developing healthy relationships with solitude. You are terrified of being alone. That is why he accepts any company, even a destructive one. But loneliness is not the enemy. Solitude is where you find yourself. This situation is forcing you into long periods alone, and you need to get into them. You need to learn that being alone is not being abandoned. The seventh lesson is about responsibility for your own happiness. You place your happiness in his hands. If he answers, you're happy. If it takes time, it is devastated. You have given all control over your emotional states to someone else. And that's emotional bondage. This situation is teaching you that you need to be responsible for your own happiness. The eighth lesson is about the courage to start over. You're afraid to start over. Afraid to admit that it was waste. Fear that no one else will make you feel what you feel with him, even if it's pain. But this situation is preparing you for the greatest act of courage, letting go of what doesn't work and starting from scratch. These 8 lessons are not punishment. These are gifts disguised as tragedy. You can keep ignoring it, you can keep in this situation for more years, or you can accept the gifts offered through pain. It can make the inner work difficult. It can raise your standards. You can learn to be alone. You can take responsibility for your life. The question is not when he will choose me. The real question is, when will I choose myself? When you go look in the mirror and say, I deserve better than this. I deserve someone completely available. I deserve to be a priority, not an option. When will you stop waiting for him to change your life and take on the power to change it yourself? The choice has always been yours, and it continues to be.